Welcome to the Powercat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Here's your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Podcast. Fitz and Gills and Coles and a new thing we're going to do. That's right. Cole came up with an idea. I think this is how the overtime started, Cole.
That's what I've been positive.
Told. Yep. This is how the overtime. We're going to take a non-sports question at the end of the show now on every podcast. We'll see how it goes. Pretty soon, if I'm spending 2 hours putting in sound effects of the moon farting, we'll know we've gone too far with this. We're sponsored by Helping Hands Remodeling right here in Manhattan. If you've got a house, an Airbnb, you want to redo a hotel room. I don't know why you would want to, because it's not your room, but you could call Gabriel and he'll come help it out. He'll suss it out, as they say. Bathrooms, decks, other remodeling projects. He's your guy right here in Manhattan, Kansas. I was out on the deck last night. It's lovely. Keeps raining though. We're getting a lot of rain in Manhattan. It's like, what the hell's going on?
Well, I'm not sure if you're going to be too happy with the weather that's out in Ireland.
I'm expecting that.
Yeah.
That's the land of my peoples. They put up with a lot of rain. And you know that you have to have rain in Ireland for a good reason.
Potatoes.
That's into the podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. No, you require rain to grow leprechauns. It's science, Gills. Don't even think about it because you can't wrap your mind around science.
Hopefully somebody clips me saying potatoes and uses that, because I think that was a really good drop.
Potatoes.
That could be a good overtime sound bite, Fitz.
Whatever. No,
here we
not
go.
doing it. I am not doing it, but we're going to do these questions from Wabash Station right now. That's the drill. We take your questions if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, you're just another peon listening to a podcast. These people have the ability to communicate with us on a higher level. I'm thinking over the site right now. I forgot what special we're on. Are we still on 50%? Yep, 50% off right now at Go Powercat. Hopefully that's tomorrow. But yeah, we're in the season of specials, and it's really cool because these specials are building up to the start of the season, which is Kansas State. Very nice. Here's our first question. Put it right there like that. Will K-State start 4-0 for the first time since 2012? Well, Kevin 316, I think so. And if so, they'll put them on track to do the same thing they did in 2012. Gutsy, I know, but I think this team's going to be good. Gentlemen?
I'm surprised that it hasn't. I didn't realize that they haven't started 4-0 since 2012.
Simon keeps losing the game. You shouldn't lose early in the year.
You know, you think about they've started 3-0 quite a bit. I think back to 2019, Chris Kleiman's first season. I remember how everybody was a little surprised that they went down and beat Mississippi State and started 3-0. And then, if I remember correctly, that was once again K-State opening on the road and losing to Oklahoma State. I would be interested to see how many times they started 3-1 since then, because I gotta believe that it's probably been every year minus 1 or 2 seasons. I think that there's a good chance, but I think we're going to know the easy cop-out answer is we'll find out a lot more here in about 2 weeks after K-State plays the Iowa State, because I think that game is going to tell you a lot about how the next few games look.
There was also a question, what are the odds? Are the odds greater of Kansas State starting off 4-0 or 2-2? And I believe both of you guys would go 4-0, so I didn't even include it. But one of Chris Kleiman's greatest strengths at Kansas State has been his ability to keep his teams locked in after that early season loss. I mean, 100%. That's why I've said that this Iowa State game does not make or break the season. Yeah, you're going to be further behind in the conference standings than you were in 2022 when you lost to Tulane, but Chris Kleiman still went out and won a Big 12 title. So later in the year, Kleiman has proven that he can get things back on track, but his track record in Manhattan is not good for the first. I wouldn't say it's not good, but it's not perfect. It's not, he's gonna usually drop a game in there, or like last year, I wouldn't say the BYU loss was an upset or a game they were supposed to win, but a game you just get your teeth blown off. And so that happens for Chris Kleiman usually, once in the first month of the season, there's a game that just does not go at all the way that you plan. So I'll say no, K-State's going to drop a game early, whether that's to Iowa State or, something shocking happens at home over the next couple of weeks, or Arizona turns out to be better than people think. It's hard to see everything going the way that we all think it's going to go. Now, if you are a sports bettor, everyone just seems so confident about K-State going and winning all these games. Oh, they're favored in every game. Well, go on and bet every one of these games. It's not as easy as you think. It's not free money. That's why they play the games. So, of course, K-State can absolutely go around the table for the first month, for the whole season, but it's a lot easier said than done. There's a lot of moving parts here, especially when you're starting a whole week earlier.
Yeah, I the only game I see as a threat to this is, that's not even true. I mean, Iowa State is the biggest threat, but Army gives me the heebie-jeebies. Just because, and folks, that's a technical medical term. Don't just use it. You got to use it in the right context. Look, Army's a different beast, and let's say you come back and you got a little jet lag in week 2, and you play that game, and you don't play that great, and now you're feeling we got to play better, and then along comes Army with their funky triple option stuff or whatever they run. If you're not ready mentally, you're going to get physically beaten. But my answer is still yes. Guys, I think this team's going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be great. They're going to be great. But it is going to be so tough just for me and you, Fitz and Cole, and everybody that's going out to Ireland for those next 4 weeks. Like, all that we're going to be thinking mentally is, just get past that game out in Tucson, and then we can enjoy bye week. Heck, enjoy a Saturday where we can watch football. I know Fitz will be traveling on the way back, but like that's just, I feel like subconsciously you're just like, okay, get through these first 4 games, then you can regroup. And so it's going to be so tough after, like you said, that jet lag Fitz coming back, and yeah, you might be able to squeak by that second game, and then, well, hey, the third game is right around the corner. You can't get too complacent, even if you start off 2-0. So there's so many moving parts with the way that the first couple of games go, win or lose.
And Fitz, I'm going to kind of curb your worries about Army here for just a second. I think that if this was a team who there was a lot of question marks around the linebacking core, if there was a lot of question marks, if there was a new defensive coordinator, if there was a lot of inexperience on the defensive line, I think that game would be a lot more worrisome. But because K-State does have that veteran presence in the linebacking room, because they have guys who, let's just be honest, are to the level of a Power 4 like opponent, because K-State has not had those big guys in the middle, in the last 6 or 7 years before, at the end of Bill Snyder 2.0, they didn't have those guys, but they do now. And so I think actually it's probably, I would rather play Army than say a team like a Tulane last year, just because you are going to have the athlete advantage every single time you play Army. And K-State, a staple of them is being disciplined on defense. And that's what you have to do to beat Army. So quite honestly, that game doesn't worry me as much. The game I look at, obviously Iowa State, but I look at the Arizona game just because, as you mentioned, we don't know how good they're going to be. And yeah, they lost McMillan, but they do get Noah Fafita back. Brent Brennan is, quite frankly, coaching for his, for his job this season. And if they get off to a slow start, I'm not saying we're going to see him get fired after that game, but you look at it, he was close in the offseason. They're going to be playing for their coach. Crazy as that sounds, in their third game of the season, but that feels like the vibe in Tucson. So, Gilbert, I understand what you're saying, but just like Fitz said, if this team is as talented as we think they are, you win that game against Iowa State. I'm not saying that game is a given. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if they beat Iowa State, you look at those 3 games and you have to feel really good for the reasons we've outlined plenty of times.
Back to what you said, Cole, about our Army and Arizona, but also with Iowa State. If you could pick 2 players at the same position that go to the NFL, I think given this K-State roster and the new pieces in that secondary, you would absolutely go with wide receiver. So that's another aspect, another area that kind of helps with Kansas State. And of course, you mentioned Army. Yeah, you've got your front seven all coming back, right? Like it does stack up well for Kansas State. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up from Gillen fans 67663. Where does K-State have the edge in this game against Iowa State? Where does Iowa State have the edge? Very good. Cole, you're my new pregame analyst. Break it down. Who do we got? And by the way, folks, we'll be doing a pregame show. It's got a new name, but we're going to do that. And we'll knock that out before we leave and then post it as to get you ready for Ireland when we're over there. I don't plan on doing much while I'm over there. I just don't. Well, I'm going to do a lot, just not for the business. Go ahead, Cole.
You plan on hiding from Gills whole time?
Yes.
Can I speak now?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I think that K-State quite honestly has the advantage in the secondary. And I know that we've had a lot of discourse back and forth about the new pieces, but when you look at the leader that K-State has back there and VJ Payne, the veteran leadership that we're expecting and Gunnar Maldonado to bring, those are two guys who I think K-State's really going to lean on. And Iowa State fans were quite frankly a little upset with me on social media. I posted a ranking of all the Big 12 quarterbacks one morning just because I wanted to see what people thought. And that was a really bad idea. Actually, it was a good idea. Most fan bases agreed with me, but I ranked Rocco Beck 7th. And there was a lot of people who were upset by that. And I think the basic argument from what I've seen from Rocco Beck is he leaned so heavily on Higgins and Knoll last year. And both of those guys are now playing for the Houston Texans and are expected to be pretty big time receivers for CJ Stroud in Houston. I don't know what Rocco Beck is going to be able to bring with a brand new receiving core. I think it's easier to plug and play guys on the defensive side than it is on the offensive side. And so with Iowa State losing those guys on the outside and having to bring in these guys from the transfer pool, I understand they did that with Higgins, but it wasn't a slam dunk right away. It took some time for them to really establish that chemistry. And those two guys kind of played off of one another. So I think K-State has a pretty big and sizable advantage in the secondary. And I'm always going to take K-State in the trenches on the defensive side because of, I think, how good this front seven is going to be. I think K-State's defense right now, that is where they have the advantage is over Iowa State's offense. Not that I'm not expecting K-State's offense to have the advantage over Iowa State's defense, but it goes for the same thing. You can't just plug and play offensive linemen. That's where really K-State's looking at, and receiver. You can't really just plug and play those transfers right away and expect them to hit on all cylinders. So I say all of that to say I think K-State has the advantage, a pretty heavily significant defense advantage when they're on defense. And I would maybe lean Iowa State a little bit, but I think Avery Johnson's better than Rocco Becht. So I think that maybe neutralizes a little bit.
Gills?
I will say, and I posted this on the message boards, that I'm so excited about our content schedule for football season. There's a lot of things that we're changing up. Some stuff went away from years past, but one that will not be going away is the edge. And so I'd encourage everybody to check out Grant. Is going to be doing that one throughout the season. Good. So Cole, you said some great things, and I'll let Grant type up some more stuff as game week nears.
I just think K-State is the better team early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Iowa State has struggled early in seasons. Sometimes, I mean, they really have had some bad starts, and their team gets a lot better. Matt Campbell's a great coach. He really is. We joke about him a lot, but what he's done at Iowa State and the consistency is notable. I am a Rocco Becht fan. I think he and Avery are the two best quarterbacks in the conference, and for different reasons. Avery's is about athleticism and the ability to make that splash play, whether it's running or throwing, because he can do both. I don't know where this idea that he's a runner only came from, but it's not even close to true. Rocco gets things done because he's a bulldog. He's like Max Duggan. Is it pretty? No. Does he get it done? Yeah. Would you lead him into an actual battle? Probably. Well, I wouldn't. I'd fall behind and hide. But yeah. So as far as position groups, I think it's flipped in this way. Iowa State has consistently been better at wide receiver for a while. I think that's going to change. I think K-State's offensive playmakers are simply better than Iowa State's right now. That needs to be proven, of course. And defensively, I think that is also true. I think defensively, Kansas State is better at the start of this season. So I just think K-State is the better team here, but it's a rivalry. And Matt Campbell has had Chris Kleiman's number, for 3 years in a row? So as long as it doesn't snow 3 feet, which was an oddity, as long as we don't have a streaker on the field, which could happen, it's Ireland. That's an old football reference to anyone who knows the K-State Iowa State series. Unless that streaker's Gilbert, nobody will even notice it's a guy. It's I just think K-State's a better team. Drilling down on the units, I'm not going to do that right now, but I just think they're the better team. But you got to play like the better team too.
Yeah.
So that's what's scary. It is the first game, and sometimes you don't have what you think you have when the game starts.
And of course, K-State is the better team. I mean, the betting line K-State's favored by is at 3.5, 4 points right now. So I think the general consensus is that's true, but you do have to go out and play the game like you said, Fitz. But Cole or Fitz, either of you guys, I mean, I was thinking when you were talking about kind of those matchups and just where Kansas State compares to Iowa State, the only player that I can truly think of that Kansas State really might miss in week number 1 that departed from last year is Jacob Parrish.
Yeah.
Right? Like running back wise, DJ Gage is a hell of a player, man. But they've got a couple of guys there that are waiting to step up, and it's relatively easy to replace a running back. Austin Moore, think the world of him as a person. I think you can replace that as a player. And you go down the line. There's only one player where I truly feel like, dang, they're really going to miss Jacob Parrish. But look at the Iowa State's wideouts and what they lose. Maybe you can minimize that. So it's another +1 for Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You guys agree?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right.
Okay, here's from El Camino Cat. This is going to be good. The official depth chart will be released next week. Do you anticipate any surprises? How do you think things shake out the O-line, D-end, and defensive backfield? I think after the press conference today and we put up the Joe Klanderman stuff yesterday, I think Wesley Farah is starting. Didn't that sound like that, Gills? Mm-hmm. Wesley Farah is going to start at safety. I thought that was notable. I really did. I think that shows a great amount of progress. He said Gunnar Maldonado should be ready, but that was kind of not definitive at all. So I think on the back end, I'll start there. And I think the corners, they said, are progressing, are getting better and better. And that's been an area of concern because they lost a couple of really good ones, a couple of really fast ones too. And they feel really good about safety. But they do have some injuries back there that are hampering that. And I think Klanderman said only their middle safety, which I thought was an interesting way to say it, is undecided at this point. Because I think that's Gunnar Maldonado, but they're not sure about his health. As for everything else, I don't know. We cannot get any form of a depth chart out of anyone on the O-line or D-end. We can't. I mean, I guess if I had to make some guesses, I would say I don't even want to do it. I don't know. The tackles are what throws me off. So we'll find out. Cole, you got any more? I hope you can add more insight because I sucked.
No, I mean, you talk about Wesley Farah, and I'm with you. And I'll ask you guys this. I'm expecting an answer here. The last, the last 15 years, who do you think is the best safety to play at K-State?
I'm not good at that. I can't even name people.
Okay, well,
Zimmerman.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Ty Zimmerman.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, high school quarterback who was a leader of his team, won a state championship. Okay, Wesley Farah was a high school quarterback. They didn't win a state championship, but they won a lot of football games at Wichita Collegiate. Okay, he comes to K-State, he redshirts, plays on special teams last year. Now he's a redshirt sophomore. And guys, I'm going to tell you this right now. When I watched Wesley Farah in high school, when I watched his tape, I saw him play in person, because I get that vibe, and you listen to him talk, he sounds like a quarterback. Like he answers questions like he's already becoming a leader on defense. What was the one thing that K-State struggled with last year? It was communication. You had Jordan Riley and Marquis Siegel, who looked like they never talked to each other, let alone played a football game with one another. You go back now, and you have Wesley Farah and VJ Payne, who's played in parts of 4 seasons at K-State now. Gunnar Maldonado, who's been a team captain. You're not going to have to worry about communication. So even if they don't come out with, super high knowledge of the defense, I think they're going to be communicating enough to where they'll be able to make up for that. So you're right. I think that will be a surprise to some people to see him, but it doesn't surprise me because I've been really high on this kid. As far as the offensive line goes, and the defensive line for that matter, whoever is going to be on that 2 deep is going to play. Like, I think you could kind of say that the ones and the 2s are pretty interchangeable. And for that very reason, I think we're going to see a lot of Orrs. That's going to be my guess. You're going to see a lot of Terrence Enos or Andrew Langang. You're going to see a lot of JB Nelson or Amos Talalili. Like, you're going to see a lot of those. Did I completely butcher that?
I have no idea.
Okay,
it sounds good to me.
I usually just call him Amos.
You said it with some confidence, so
I did. That's all you got to do. That's the teacher in me. So
I said David in guessing with a lot of confidence, though.
Well, in the beginning you were right, and then you were wrong. So we'll get corrected, I'm sure. But that's my theory. You're going to see a lot of Orrs on this depth chart. I hope that answers El Camino's question.
Yeah, Wesley Farah. I mean, he just carried himself on Tuesday. In the open interviews we had with him, Fitz, he carried himself like he was a starter, like he was just a mature player, and not that everybody else there on Tuesday wasn't good at talking to the media, but like Wesley Farah just nailed it. And I'm not sure, Fitz, how many times we have really kind of talked to him in a setting like that. Cole, I know you followed him for a while on the recruiting trail, but that's certainly one of the more surprises of the offseason. I know Ryan Davis has maybe stolen the spotlight in that regard as a defensive player that stepped up. But yeah, Wesley Farah was very impressed with just him speaking to us.
I'm really excited for those safeties. I know.
Combine
him with
Jack
Travers.
Yeah, Wesley's just such a smart kid. He just you can tell, and you're right. He does. That is the great advantage of the safety who's played quarterback. You understand the game from their perspective. And you can kind of predict what they're going to do based on that. So I do think defensive end, we're going to see the older guys get the start. I mean, I don't know. I can imagine that Toby will be out there along with Jesus. What's wrong with me? Why can't I think of names?
Cody Stufflebean.
Stufflebean. Why can't I remember Stufflebean? I've covered him for 4 years.
He's old as you.
Oh, he's 37. I don't know. I suck at names. Golly. Good question, El Camino. Crappy answer on my part. KSU Royals Cat, who ends with the most rushing yards this season? Avery, Dillon, or Joe Jackson? I think it's got to be Dillon. I mean, I hope Avery isn't your leading rusher. He's going to be beating all the snot. But I wouldn't be. The only one that surprised me if it's Avery. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Joe Jackson. I really wouldn't. They divide up stuff, and we see Dillon getting yardage in the passing game and the return game, and overall total yardage. It's Dillon, but rushing wouldn't surprise me. But I think it'll be Dillon. I think he's going to have a big season. He won't play as much as DJ Giddens, but his explosives will be more frequent. And more, I don't want to say deadly, but I think when he breaks free, he's done. Nobody's going to catch him. And, we didn't really see that from DJ until last season. He would get run down a lot. Last season, he wasn't getting run down hardly at all. So, but nobody's going to chase down Dylan Edwards, I don't think.
So I'm going to assume, since Gilbert, you picked out these questions, that you have an answer that neither one of us are going to have. So I'm going to take the bait here, and I'm going to agree with Fitz, and I'm going to say Dylan Edwards. And the reason I'm going to say Dylan Edwards is because I look at what this guy does, and I think we all assume that, oh, Dylan's not going to get as many carries as DJ. And I think that's fair. But guys, I just have this strange intuition that it's going to be really hard for them to take Dylan Edwards off the field. Like, you could just kind of see the flashes last year, and you've heard players talk about it. Like, he was trying to figure everything out. Like, people forget he didn't come to K-State right when the transfer portal opened. Like, it took him a while to get here, so he didn't have those spring practices. And I think that once Dylan Edwards gets his first few carries, he's going to taste it and he's going to get rolling. And it's going to be really hard for K-State to take him off the field. I think that in the beginning, they're going to try to limit his touches, but it really wouldn't surprise me if at the end of the year, he is that number one running back, because he seems like he is bound and determined to take that spot. Like, for all the criticism that, fans gave Connor Riley last year, for all the criticism that Dylan Edwards has taken since he was a high school kid, like, he has taken everything in stride, and he has really turned himself into a good football player. And I think he is ready to seize that opportunity, and he will lead the team in rushing yards. And I do think that he will end up being solidify himself as the number one running back, not because the other guys aren't going to be very good. I think Joe Jackson is going to be really, really good. I just think Dylan Edwards is going to be a star.
I agree.
Talked about Wesley Farah, spoke with him on Tuesday. We also talked with Dylan Edwards, and as if he doesn't already have a chip on his shoulder just because he's Dylan Edwards, he is really going to be on a mission in 2025. He was not satisfied. What did he say? What did he say, Fitz? He wasn't satisfied with anything from last year?
Yeah, he was really disappointed in himself, both how he played and what kind of teammate I was.
Yeah.
So, that gets back to some of the stuff we hinted about during the season that people got in an uproar for. I think this team is really unified, and Dylan's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Okay, on we go. Nope.
So that's my answer, Dylan Edwards, by the way.
Okay.
Thank you.
O2 cat, which I think means oxygen cat. I don't know why he's O2. Is it better for an unknown star to emerge from the offensive line or the receiver? Same question for the defensive ends or cornerbacks. An unknown star to emerge. If you can get one, I don't think that's going to happen on the offensive line. We know all the candidates there. And we know most of them receiver, but if Sterling Lockett erupts, I think that's not unknown, but I think that's notable. I think it's really notable. So yeah, I think the receivers are going to surprise everyone. I'm setting myself up to be so freaking wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it, so I'm just going to go all the way in. I think the receivers, they're going to be deep and really effective. I don't know.
How do you quantify a star as an offensive lineman?
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you do that? Is it a guy who just plays consistently, or is it a guy who emerges as an NFL draft pick? Like, I think it's kind of hard to quantify that. So I don't think to the average fan that you're going to really know. I mean, if they're doing good, you're not going to notice them, right?
If you're a starter, then you're not unknown.
Right.
I mean, and I don't see anyone rotating in and like being such an incredible offensive lineman, they can't take him off the field. Maybe that happens, but I don't know.
The question is, what is it better? I think the answer would be receiver, because you don't want someone to have to emerge along the offensive line. You want your offensive line to be your offensive line. You want them to be steady. You want them to be that rock. Sure, if somebody wants to step up with that wide receiver group and turn into a star that's not named Jace Brown, by all means, that would help this football team tremendously. You say Sterling Lockett. Well, I'm looking at a J.D. Davis. They talked about Adonis Moisey earlier. I've heard his name mentioned a few times. I'm still really high on Larry Porter. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to see somebody take that Jace Brown leap like Jace took his freshman year in the second half of the season and really kind of open some eyes, help this football team out, and really make an impact. I think that if we're answering it from the offensive side, it has to be the receivers.
I look at this with depth. The wide receiver room is not nearly as deep as the offensive line group, right? Same thing with the cornerbacks. That room is not as deep as a defensive end. So you can get by without somebody stepping up from below the ranks on the offensive line from that defensive end group. But if you can get somebody that we're not even talking about right now to just go in and maybe not be a star, but just be a guy who plays, that's going to help out the wide receivers, those Tibbs and Bradleys and Browns of the world. That's going to help them out so much more than if somebody is to emerge on the offensive line. They've already got enough firepower there.
Okay, now let's do the defensive ends and corners. I learned something at our press conference on Tuesday that was interesting. I just did a video, a daily delivery on the defensive ends and listed 7, that's a lot, that can be of the quality to play. We got to add an 8th. Apparently, Dalton Knapp, true freshman out of Texas. Travis Bates told me he is absolutely tearing it up in practice. That's who he had as the guy that is jumping out at him. I thought that was really interesting. He said, I know when I came out of high school, I wasn't big enough to play college football. Said this guy came with a college body. And I don't know if he'll get on the field very much as a defensive end, but keep an eye out for him. If he does, if K-State is way ahead, maybe he'll play in one of these early games. So, but I think defensive end's the answer here because there's so many of them that none of them are unknown, but I mean, if Ryan Davis steps up and becomes a star, we wouldn't have had a full indication of that last year. So I think that'd be unexpected, might be better than unknown, the word. But yeah, I think someone on defensive end is going to be really good. I think the whole unit's going to be really good, but I think this is going to be a breakout year for 1 or 2 guys.
Well, here's where I look at this question, guys. Who can impact the game more? And I feel like the answer is defensive end, right? Like you will notice a game-wrecking defensive end. You noticed Felix Anudike-Uzomah. You noticed Brendan Mott. You didn't always notice Jacob Parrish, right? You didn't always notice Julius Brents, right? Unless you're getting a lot of interceptions, the typical fan is not going to necessarily notice a cornerback because they're not going to throw the ball that way.
You got it.
So who needs to emerge as a star? That's a 100% defensive end. Yeah. They need somebody who can be a game wrecker, who can get to the quarterback, get an instant turnover, and flip a game. I think that between 7 guys, maybe 8 guys who are going to be there, the odds of you hitting on a star are really high. And I don't know who that's going to be this year, but I really do believe, I've said star twice in this podcast because K-State has the potential to have several stars. There's going to be someone out of that group who could be a all first team Big 12 defensive end. And if that's the case, this defense is transformed tremendously.
I agree.
Somebody does have to step up, though. Like we've talked all offseason about the depth, and rightfully so. It's such a deep room, but I'm talking about defensive ends here.
Right.
But somebody's got to go out and get double-digit. Well, somebody's got to go out and get double-digit sacks and just be that Brendan Mott, like you said, the Felix Anudike-Uzomah Cole. Somebody's got to go out and do that. It's not just – it's great to have a lot of pieces there. That's awesome. But if everyone's just giving a sack here, a sack there, well – you're going to need somebody to really create that splash. So the door is open. I don't know who the heck it's going to be, but it's open for somebody to go be that guy and be that star because K-State's going to need that star.
Quite often the best college corners don't have very good stats because they're not involved. Their job is done so well. They take someone off the table for the offense. Mm-hmm. Whoever he's covering just doesn't get the ball. So I do think that it's easy to go with defensive end on that one. Are we ready for the big 2-minute? Was it 2-minute drill?
2-minute drill.
2-minute drill. I've got the timer going. Here we go. What's on the agenda for the GPC crew in Ireland that's not related to the game? Actually, I'm gonna restart that.
You don't have a timer on the screen for everyone to look at?
I couldn't find one. It involves like doing work. Wow.
Can we explain the parameters of the 2-minute drill before we just dive into the question?
Okay, I'm stopping. I'm going to reset again. Go ahead.
It was ready for it.
We called timeout before we get into the 2-minute drill. So basically, what the 2-minute drill is we will answer a non-sports question. It cannot be over 2 minutes. It's obviously a play on words. Maybe we should call it the 2-minute timeout, Fitz, because they don't call it the 2-minute warning in college football. It's a 2-minute timeout. We got to spend 2 minutes talking about something non-sports related Fitz, you the floor is yours now.
And we want somebody in the questions thread to ask this, usually, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
King Jim came through. We didn't even
King
ask
Jim?
for it.
Yep, thank you, King Jim.
I'm not adding the sound effect in, Jim. Yes. Okay, I'm starting again. Tuesday. We're gonna do a little sightseeing. Go see those cliffs of Moore. I bet they look just like Tuttle Creek. I'm just guessing. And then on Wednesday we're doing a distillery tour, and then probably the Temple Bar District. We'll get there a little bit later than usual, probably around noon. And then on Thursday we have a press conference. We got to be adults and do that, and then go back to the Temple Bar District. And on Friday, I'll be in the Temple Bar District, but not as busy because Saturday's game day. Granted, it's Saturday evening over there, but I plan on drinking a lot. And I know that sounds horrible, and some of you will judge me for that. I am Irish, and I'm going to my homeland. I can't wait to sit at a bar with a pint in front of me, just talking to some dude. I do it at a lot of bars in the States, but they never have an entertaining accent.
That's good. My plan is the same. I don't have any plans right now. I'm leaving it all up to my grandpa. I'm going over with my grandpa and my mom. We're going to get there on Thursday morning at around 11 o'clock, and we're going to hang out, hopefully meet a lot of K-Staters, hopefully meet a lot of Fitzgeralds who are not named Tim. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited. Hopefully we see some of you there.
How much time do I got?
You got 40 seconds.
Okay. I won't take the full 40, but I will say that my plan is to get away from Tim Fitzgerald as much as I can. So if you're a K-Stater going over to Ireland, slide me a DM on Twitter, message me on Wabash. I want to meet up with you so I can get away from old fat.
You can hang out with us, Gilbert. You can hang out with us.
Okay. I would love to see Grandpa Cat.
That's right.
Okay.
How do we fill the rest of the 12 seconds we have?
I will just stare at you for the last
We
15.
scored a touchdown, and then we stopped him on defense, and we won. That's what happened.
I'm just staring at Gilbert for the next 6 seconds. And that's it for the 2-minute drill. Appreciate you listening to that. Give us some feedback. Let us know if you like that, want us to continue it. Want me to fire Ryan Gilbert, any kind of feedback just on the show. It'd be great. Remember, we're sharing a room, Gilbert. And I'm going to write a song called 6 Days in Ireland.
May I bring my white noise machine? Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody on the Tim and Cole, I don't know who could be talking about. Somebody snores, and I don't want to hear that. So I
don't snore. I breathe aggressively. Yeah, you can bring that. I could just run my iPhone across a little speaker and have white noise. I don't know. We're talking about stuff nobody cares about. That's the end of the Powercat podcast. We appreciate you listening. We'll have a bunch of content ready for you next week. We'll have some stuff from over there, but honestly, we're going early to enjoy the trip. And so the daily deliveries will be delivered. I don't know how I'll have to do them in the morning. So I'm sober. Will I be sober in the morning?
So like 12:01 a.m. when you're still hammered.
Right. The bars close at midnight. So
what?
I know.
Goodness.
I know. Well, you're used to it. It's just like Taco Lucha.
This has been a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.